Welcome to the training, How to Fill Out a Chain of Custody Form, brought to you by the State Environmental Laboratory Services Division. This training will describe how to complete a prelogged chain of custody form. This chain of custody is targeted toward customers like the general public, property owners, private companies, private businesses, wastewater operators, stormwater samples for businesses, contract customers, other agencies, tribal programs, or etc. Chain of custody for samples for the public water supply compliance are described in a different training video. Here are a few reasons that we have updated our previous form: to collect new required information, added features, and design improvements. The chain of custody is a required form for all samples submitted to the laboratory. It tells us necessary information about your sample so that we can process and analyze it properly. In order to accept your samples, we need the information on the form. How do you get a prelogged chain of custody form? You can contact the lab via phone or email, and we can gather the preliminary information about your needs and send some sampling materials like containers, labels, instructions, and a prelogged chain of custody form. If you go this route, you will receive a partially completed chain of custody form that contains the information you provided to our staff, but you will still need to complete a few pieces of information before submitting your sample for analysis. Here is a prelogged chain of custody form, also known as a COC. If you call the laboratory before you sample, we can begin logging your samples, tests, and customer information into our system. The information on the form will already be populated with the information you provided. These are indicated in red. You will still need to fill out the sampler, sample address, sample location, like a faucet description, and the date time of collection. These are indicated in green. At the very bottom of the page, the area indicated in yellow, you will find a sample key. This area will explain any codes used on the form. In this example, the first sample has an ICE indicator next to the sample ID. The key explains that the sample needs to be stored and transported on ice as there is a receipt temperature requirement. In the sample information box on top of the sample rows, fill out the collector's name or initials in the sample collection by area. Add a current contact phone number for the collector in case there are any questions about the samples or any missing information on the form. If you have any special collection notes about your samples, please write them in the collection notes area, or you may describe any issues you are having that prompted you to collect the samples. For example, if your private well is having a taste or odor issue, you can note that here. As you collect your samples, fill in a line for each container you collect. Make sure the container and test line up with the prelogged line matching that sample. In the sample address and location box, print the address or general location you are collecting your sample and print the specific location where you took the sample. For example, 1211 Fox Lane, kitchen sink. After you collect your sample, fill in the date and time and circle AM or PM. When mailing samples via postal service or courier, complete the custody portion of the form before packing up your samples and paperwork. Complete the chain of custody by printing your name and signing at the bottom of the form to relinquish your samples to the laboratory. Add the date and time that you are packaging up your samples. Place the chain of custody and payment for your analysis into the shipping container, preferably in a Ziploc style bag to keep them from getting wet in case your samples leak in transit. Make sure the lids are secure but not so tight as to break the lid. If your samples are required to be stored or shipped on ice, pack them in a cooler or container and fill with ice. Pack the samples in a way to protect them from breakage. Glass containers should be wrapped in bubble wrap or plastic. If you will be delivering your samples in person to the laboratory, you will print your name and sign the bottom of the form to relinquish your samples to the laboratory when you arrive in our sample management area. The date and time that you are giving your samples to the sample receipt staff is the relinquished time that will be recorded. If you have any questions about how to store your samples or the cost of your requested analyses, please call the laboratory.